No niin, tervehdys ystävät ja toverit. Tervetuloa tänne Proletaarit keskusteluohjelmaan. Tänä iltana meillä on keskustelun aiheena Puola proletaarisen internationalismin hengessä. Mehän tuossa vappuna jo haastattelimme joitakin kansainvälisiä vieraita eri vasemmistoporukoista ympäri maailmaa. Ja tänä päivänä me ajattelimme jatkaa tällä teemalla. Meillä on täällä studiossa co-hostina Juho Tamminen jälleen kerran ja vieraana sitten Bojan Stanislavski, joka on aktiivi journalisti tuolta Puolan suunnalta, johon tutustuin ensimmäistä kertaa, törmäsin häneen 10 vuotta sitten tuolla Euroopan vasemmiston AY-verkoston kokoontumisessa Helsingissä, ja olen yrittänyt houkutella häntä, että hän voisi kirjoittaa meille myös juttuja, mutta hän pisti askeleen paremmaksi ja sanoi, että hän haluaisi olla haastateltavana tässä live-showssa, ja mikä sen parempaa, se on oikein hyvä idea mielestäni. Ja nyt hän on täällä tänään vieraanamme. Käsittelemme siis Puolan tilannetta, mitä siellä tapahtuu. Me olemme nähneet aikaisemmin kuvastoissa, voimme näyttää tässä hieman, että miltä siellä on näyttänyt. Nythän siis tämän tyyppistä marssimeininkiä on siellä nähty useampana vuonna, erityisesti itsenäisyyspäivänä, kuten myöskin täällä Suomessa. Äärioikeisto on ollut siellä kovasti vallalla. Tämä on joitakin vuosia sitten Varsovan kaupungissa. Tätä toimintaa on yritetty aivan hiljattain myös kieltää, mutta siitä on muodostunut tämmöinen äärioikeistolainen perinne. Tässä kuva, jossa ymmärtääkseni lukee jotain sen tyyppistä, että Eurooppa tulee olemaan valkoinen tai sieltä loppuu asutus kokonaan. Eli aivan avoimen rasistisia mielenilmauksia myöskin Puolasta itsestään. Siellä on vaadittu, että Puolan on oltava valkoinen. Ja myöskin näihin mielenosoituksiin on liittynyt hyökkäyksiä vallattuja taloja vastaan. Esimerkiksi tässä kuvassa näkyy hyökkäys tällaista squattia vastaan niin sanotusti Varsovassa, ja tässä sitten ilmeisesti jonkinnäköinen palopommihyökkäys sitten tällaisia seksuaalivähemmistöjen oikeuksia puolustavaa järjestöä vastaan. Eli nämä ovat olleet myös väkivaltaisia, ja niihin on osallistunut sekä tämä valtavirtaoikeisto Puolassa että sitten aivan äärimmäisin natsistinen, rasistinen oikeisto. Ja tiettyä yhtenäväisyyttä tietenkin myös Suomeen on sillä, että sekä tämä äärimmäisin oikeisto että sitten parlamentaarinen rasistinen oikeisto Suomessa, perussuomalaiset, marssivat itsenäisyyspäivänä. Samaahan me olemme nähneet täällä tosin pienemmässä mittakaavassa. Puolassa nämä mielenosoitukset ovat olleet jopa 60 000 ihmisen tapahtumia tuossa. Aikamoista kuvastoa sieltä. Ja nyt sitten viimeisimpien tietojen mukaan tuolla Puolassa on myös ollut sillä tavalla, että äärioikeiston presidenttiehdokas on saanut aika merkittävän tuon Gallup-suosion tuolla presidentinvaalikyselyissä, joka on sitten hätkähdyttänyt monet. No tässä on sitten Puolan tuo valtavirtaoikeiston johtaja, tämä Jaroslav Kaczynski, johonka sitten palataan myöhemmin. Mutta mikä on mielenkiintoista on tässä, niin tämä, eli nämä mielenosoitukset, mikä tässä nähtiin, niin meidän äärioikeisto Laura Huhtasaari tässä näin sanoi, että hyvä Puola näille mielenosoituksille, jossa todellakin ihmisten kimppuun käyty ja erittäin avoimen rasistisia, avoimen fasistisia tunnuksia esitetty. Tässä myös BBC:n artikkeli siitä, että näitä mielenosoituksia on yritetty estää myös sitten paikallisesti Varsovassa, ja että siellä on myös ihmisten aktiivien kimppuun käyty, naisia hakattu, feministisiä ja tämän tyyppisiä voimia niin kuin niiden kimppuun käyty. Mutta tämä on vain niin kuin tämmöinen raflaavin ehkä pisara tässä näin, tämmöinen jäävuoren huippu niin sanotusti siitä, mitä tuolla tapahtuu tuossa maassa. Mistä on kysymys tässä valtaoikeiston nousussa ja yhteistyössä äärioikeiston kanssa? Mistä on kysymys oppositiossa? Ja miten Puolan vasemmisto, miten työväenliike ja luokkakantainen liike voi vastata tähän, niin niistä meillä on kysymys tänään tässä lähetyksessä. Ja nyt me yritämme laittaa tuolta äänet päälle. Poistetaan mykistys. Hello, and now you are on air. Tervetuloa Juho Tamminen mukaan lähetykseen ja tervetuloa myöskin Bojan Stanislavski, joka juuri meni nyt sitten pimentoon tuolla. Hello.
Hello, it's great to be with you guys.
All right. So we saw some pictures there of fascist demonstrators on Independence Day in your country in Warsaw, and this has been apparently a tradition for quite some years now, kind of mirroring what is happening in Finland in a smaller scale. We've also seen our far right march every Independence Day. So what is the political atmosphere in your country regarding this far right thing, and what is happening in these presidential gallops with the new far right candidate?
Well, that's a very tough question because not so much because the answer is complicated, but because I hate to answer it, because I always have to say that the atmosphere, the political atmosphere, the cultural atmosphere, the social atmosphere in Poland is extremely bleak. And there's a prevailing feeling of for some people of nonsense going on, and for some people of complete chaos, because that's the situation we are in right now. And the far right, they do play a role in it, although not a central role, because they for the last, say, 30 years, they were getting stronger and stronger, but they were still somewhere on the fringes, on the periphery of the political process in Poland. Yet now, the situation has changed because the current government, the government of the party called Law and Justice, headed by its chairman Jarosław Kaczyński, who is he's not only the chairman of the party, I call him the chairman of the state, because he really controls the entire internal political process here. So they flirted with the far right, with the extremists, and they invited them to participate. Of course, in the beginning, they only wanted to keep them in a very healthy distance from themselves. But with the radical forces, this is how it happens. Like, you just open a door to a small path towards the mainstream political process, and they will just flood it. So that's pretty much what's happening. And I think that even for Jarosław Kaczyński and for the government, the recent successes of the far right, they are also threatening them, because now they also have a very serious competition from the right, and the extremists who have managed to unite under the banner of the so-called Confederation. That's what they call themselves. So the Confederation, as a coalition of small right-wing sects, they managed to get 11 representatives in the Polish parliament. So yeah, the situation is pretty bleak. The central political process is occupied by a conservative Catholic fundamentalist party, which is the Law and Justice, and then there is this growing far right presence competing for power with the Law and Justice. So yeah, it's a horror.
Eli tässä Bojan kuvaili siis kauhuksi tätä tilannetta suoraan sanottuna. Tilanne on se, että valtaan tullut 2015 tullut laki- ja oikeuspuolue on siis ikään kuin tehnyt yhteistyötä jatkuvasti, avannut ovea tämmöiselle äärioikeistolaiselle porukalle ja he sitten ovat sitä myötä koko ajan saaneet lisää valtaa, muodostaneet jonkinnäköisen tämmöisen konfederaation, liittouman ja heitä on päässyt 11 parlamenttiin. Ja nyt sitten he tarjoavat koko ajan sitten oikealta lisää painetta siirtää koko ajan tätä oikeammalle enemmän tätä Puolan tilannetta. Right. So about this Law and Justice Party, and they're the governing party under Jarosław Kaczynski, and like you said, he's effectively the head of state. Even the president has to come to him instead of the other way around, I've understood. And you call them a Catholic fundamentalist party, and their motto has been rise from your knees, eli nouskaa polviltanne Puola. How would you characterize this rising that's been going on for the past 5 years as opposed to the rest of Polish history?
Well, I would describe it as a typical right-wing slogan, because they tell you one thing, but what they mean is exactly the opposite. I don't know if they meant it this time, but this is what they achieved. They spoke, and they keep speaking, actually. They have been speaking for the last 5 years plus about how Poland is going to now stand on its feet and rise from the knees and so on and so forth. But in fact, we never in our modern history have fallen so low. So Poland at the moment finds itself in a situation of complete international isolation. Poland is a country with completely, utterly devastated legal system within just 5 years plus, as I said. Poland is a place where all kinds of extremist right-wing sects are reaching out officially for power, although for all these decades they were somewhere on the suburbs of the political arena. And Poland is also a place where people who are in whatever way different from the general standard find it very difficult for them to function. Also, Poland is a place where the government is actively looking all the time for ways to inflict, and I don't say that lightly, emotional terror on the society. And I know what I'm talking about, because this is their only way. This is their only model of power that they understand and know, because they don't intend, and they have never intended, to actually make any changes, be it systemic or even cosmetic changes. They wanted to grab the power and to make sure that they remain a part of the ruling establishment. So that's why they are now at each other's throats. I mean, the Law and Justice and the opposition and the far rights, everybody is quarreling with each other. And in order to make sure that the society is governable, what they are doing is they are constantly throwing in some kind of extremely outrageous themes into the public sphere, and things which are utterly divisive for the society, so that we can be at each other's throats, just as the powers that be are. And what their program and their instrument of power is really emotional exploitation and terrorizing society. That's what they were doing. That's what they have been doing for the last 5 years plus, because it's their second term in the parliament now. And that's why they, of course, play with all these things, with the bigotry and with the fear porn of things. So they first, they were trying to create, and to a large extent they succeeded to create an atmosphere of social resistance towards the refugees, although no refugees really, in fact, were intending to come to Poland or stay here. But anyway, they managed to create this atmosphere of hostility. Then they clashed with the European Union, so they organized a kind of, they instigated a kind of witch hunt, that now Poland is like a besieged fortress, and the evil Western European forces that want to bring LGBT and sexual education to the schools, now they are your enemy. And there are these straw man and these artificial enemies which are constantly being offered and suggested to the public, so that we can be emotionally exploited, and so that they can do their thing, which is secure their place in the ruling establishment. So it's a very, very, we went to a very dark place in Poland, seriously.
Eli siinä mitä hän sanoi oli, että tämä hallitseva niin kuin laki- ja oikeuspuolue on nostanut esiin tämmöisiä, etsinyt ikään kuin erilaisia ihmisiä, nostanut vihollisekseen, sekä tietysti perinteiset seksuaalivähemmistöt. Puola on katolilainen maa ja erittäin vahvasti katolilaisen kirkon niin kuin ideologian mukaan mennään siellä. Ja sitten tietysti nämä perinteiset samat argumentit, mitä me ollaan kuultu myös suomalaiselta oikeistolta, kulttuurimarksilaiset ja tämmöiset, jotka levittää tätä, tietenkin myös haluavat hirveästi pakolaisia tänne, vaikka Puolassa ei pakolaisia juuri edes ole. Mutta että niin kun Puola on tämmöinen linnake, jota viholliset piirittävät ympäriltä. Ja siinä myöskin Euroopan unioni nähdään sitten toimivan liittolaisena näille kulttuurimarksilaisille, jotka näitä asioita haluavat. Ja yksi syy, niin kun, minkä mä halusin tässä ottaa yhteyttä, koska mä näin tällaisen postauksen, ja tämä oli aika pysäyttävä. Nythän siis me tiedetään, että tuolla Puolassa on sellainenkin laki, jota yritettiin vetää läpi, että niin kun Puolassa holokaustista ei puhuta enää sillä tavalla, että puolalaisilla olisi ollut itsellään mitään sen kanssa tekemistä. Puolalaiset eivät olleet natseja, eivätkä tehneet natsien kanssa yhteistyötä, vaan se tuli kokonaan saksalaisten puolelta. Ja voi olla sillä tavalla, että tämä laki ei ole mennyt läpi aivan täysin näillä kansainvälisestä vastustuksesta huolimatta, mutta siis jotenkin tämä narratiivi siitä niin on näkyvillä tässä kuvassa. Tässä siis kysymyksessä on sellainen tilanne, että tässä on koulunäytelmä eräässä puolalaisessa kylässä, pienessä Labunien kaupungissa, jossa on alle 2000 ihmistä itäisessä Puolassa. Ja tässä siis koululapset esittävät juutalaisia ja natseja. Ja juutalaiset kaasuttavat siinä, tai siis natsit kaasuttavat juutalaisia. Ja se esitetään tokikin huonona asiana siinä. Ei ole tarkoitus sanoa, että tällä puolusteltaisiin suoraan natsien rikoksia. Mutta siis mikä tässä Bojan nostaa esiin on tämä johtopäätös. On se paljon mielenkiintoisempi juttu. Se on tällainen näin, että after the play finished, the head of the local authorities gave a fierce speech calling on the students to defend the Latin civilization at all costs, and explained that today there is an urgent need to combat weird people and left organizations that want to create the new human being stripped of God. Except for the local politician, other guests took the floor to urge the children to be brave in battle, as well as suggesting some methodology. For example, shaving heads of women with leftist views was put forward as good practice. Eli tässä niinku antifasistinen viesti on niinku käännetty oikeastaan fasistiseksi viestiksi. It's like they turned an anti-fascist message and turned it into a fascist one with like suppression of minorities and witch hunting, like you said, of leftists. And this is like in part of a school play as part of children's education. And I saw that picture and I just thought that's fucked up.
yeah, that's really, it really is. I'm telling you, Poland is like a bad trip. I mean, you take a drug and you don't like it, but unfortunately, it doesn't want to let go. So you just keep waiting, and it's still there. So look, this witch hunt and this kind of weird demonization of the left. I mean, this is one of the elements in Poland which are contributing very seriously to making the entire atmosphere extremely bleak. Because this is again, I mean, I wish the left in Poland was so powerful that it had to be confronted on every level, and that every right-wing teacher would have to, or whatever local authority person would have to go out and make speeches against the left in order to defend, I don't know, whatever, their cause, right? But it's artificial. I mean, there are no strong left centers and strong left organizations, that would have any power to actually to impact the culture, the political culture, or to have any impact really. So what they are doing now is they are taking advantage of the general political confusion after 1989, created after 1989, and now people are not in general, people are not exactly sure what is left and what is right. So what they are doing is they are trying to teach people that to lefts or lefties are those who want to introduce sexual education, and that way they want to create this new human being, and they use this Nazi cliche, the cultural Marxism, which is really Nazi because it derives from Kulturbolszewismus, which was the kind of element of the Nazi propaganda against Russia and or in Soviet Union and so on and so forth. But so they use it, and they say like the left people are those who came for your children, and the European Union has sent them, or I don't know, Germany has sent them, right? Because so they want to somehow influence the person and the personality and the families, most of all families, and they are of course against God and against the church, because the church, particularly in Poland, the Catholic Church is very backward, so it's very easy to be against that, no matter if you're left or right or center or whatever. So of course they have that, and we have these weird scenes. We have this, people who fell for it, like local authorities, managers of schools, and so on and so forth, who are important figures in certain institutions or in their region, who are executing the ideological propagandist construction that the government is imposing in their weird provincial manner. Okay, so it's when you look at it and when you look at that what you just referred to, it's just really, really weird, and this happens every once in a while. But this is funny. Okay, it's not funny. It's tragic, but I mean, you can have a laugh at it. But there are some really dangerous things, because a quite recent example. There's a sect in Poland, a very fanatical Catholic sect, which is composed of lawyers. They call themselves conservative, family-oriented legal organization. But in fact, what they are a collection of Catholic radicals and fanatics who are legal experts, and they are, prosecuting initiatives, people and initiatives from the Polish left. And what happened, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. Yeah, last week. So last week, what happened is that this organization's representatives were interrogating students in southern Poland, in the city of Katowice, were interrogating students in police stations. So the police was assisting these people, brought students from the University of Katowice to their police stations for these people to interrogate them. And why? Because a group of students from that particular university filed a complaint against one of their professors, because this particular professor was producing all kinds of openly racist and homophobic slur during the lectures. Okay, so they just wrote an official complaint and they sent it to the university authorities, and then it went out to the press and so on and so forth. And without anyone asking them, really, this organization, this sect of lawyers, they take the initiative to engage with the police, to engage with the prosecution, and to run their own Catholic fundamentalist show with the help of the repressive apparatus of the state. That's what's happening. And they are doing it in a manner which is absolutely appalling. I mean, there were students going out of these police stations after being interrogated, when they were crying, psychologically breaking down, because that was the manner of the interrogation, that was the method that was used. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that apart from this incidents, which are weird, and I know they are weird even by our Eastern European standards, okay? So they are weird, but at the same time, a very serious process of degeneration of the political culture and the political atmosphere and the political life in Poland is going on parallelly.
Alright, eli siinä tuli täysin uutta tietoa, järkyttävää, käsittämätöntä tietoa, siis sen lisäksi, että tässä aikaisemmassa postauksessa siis koulun viranomaiset ja paikallispoliitikot olivat sitä mieltä, että niin kuin pitää käydä vasemmistolaisten väärinajattelijoiden kimppuun ja niin päin pois, niin tässä oli tapaus siis Katowicesta, jossa siis oli tehty valitus jostain opettajasta tai tämän tyyppisestä professorista, joka jatkuvasti käytti niin kuin homofobisia seksuaalivähemmistöjen vastaisia niin kuin tällaisia kirosanoja, slurreja, hyökkäyksiä puheessaan. Häntä vastaan oli tehty oikeusjuttu, ja siis ei niinkään, että tämä oikeusjuttu olisi johtanut toimenpiteisiin, vaan se johti vastatoimenpiteisiin. Tällainen radikaali joukko tämmöisiä asianajajia oli sitten niin kuin tämmöisiä taantumuksellisia oikein konservatiivia asianajajia oli sitten haastanut niin kuin poliisin kanssa yhteistyössä niin, että nämä opiskelijat, jotka olivat esittäneet tällaisia valituksia, niin heitä haastatteli poliisit poliisiasemalla. Eli suora tämmöinen yhteys tämmöisellä konservatiivisella, erittäin taantumuksellisella niin kuin kansalaistoiminnalla ja tämmöisellä porukalla niin kuin sit suoraan valtion myöskin sitten väkivaltakoneistoon ja viranomaistoimintaan. Eli tässä niin kuin hämärretään todella vahvasti näitä, ja että niin kuin oppilaat olivat sitten luonnollisesti olleet tästä kovasti järkyttyneitä, itkivät siitä, joutuvat poliisiasemalle ikään kuin rikollisina haastatelluiksi siitä, että niin kuin ovat tehneet valituksen. Eli tämä nyt kuvastaa vaan sitä, että minkälainen tämä yleinen ilmapiiri on tässä maassa. Ja tietysti myöskin sitten tämä keskustelu siitä, että pitääkö Puolassa, niin ovatko nämä vapaita nämä tuomioistuimet, siitä keskustellaan paljon. Tämä oppositio Puolassa yrittää pitää niitä ikään kuin vapaana, ja sitten tämä niin kuin valtapuolue asettaa siinä omia toimijoitaan. Ja tämä kaikki tapahtuu tämän lustraation eli antikommunismin nimissä, eli ikään kuin tämä valtapuolue vetoaa siihen, että vanhat kommunistit pitää saada pois tuolta niin kuin tuomareiden virasta. So like one of the key struggles in Poland has been this struggle about the courts, about the legal system, like this Law and Justice Party has been appointing their own judges into the system, and in the name of lustration, in the name of like kicking out the old communists out of the system, and
Yeah, they're still fighting. They're still struggling. They're still fighting communism. Like 30 years after the Berlin Wall fell. I mean, this is one of the most ridiculous nonsenses, which you can come across here. But yeah, well, of course they have all kinds of propagandist ideas and cliches that they're gonna tell you about when justifying their hacking of the judiciary. And again, I want to say that, and I want to be very clear about it. I'm really no fan of the current legal system, okay? And I'm no fan of the Polish judiciary in particular. I will say more. I think that the Polish judges are one of the most immoral professional groups in the entire system here. But like my subjective opinions aside, I want to say this. Many people, especially those who are active in the opposition here in Poland, they call Jarosław Kaczyński a fascist or a fascist dictator or something like that. That's not true. He might become one, but he's not a fascist, and he's not a dictator. He's just trying to do that, and he's got a very obedient party, so he can control a lot and he can dominate. But he's not a dictator yet, at least. So although he's dangerous, okay, I'm not downplaying it. Now, the only element which might, in my opinion, rationalize this kind of opinion, I mean, saying that there's, fascism looming somewhere ahead of us and so on and so forth, well, that's exactly the question of the courts. Because this hacking of the courts, this is really something which already smells a bit like fascism. I mean, if you have when you get to the point where the executive branch can manually control the courts, well, that's already opening the door for a downright right-wing, maybe fascist dictatorship. So that's what they were trying to do. Now, why are they successful? And I think that's important. They are successful because the Polish judicial system is pretty inefficient and has been very inefficient for decades, and many people have quite rightly accused the judges and the High Court and the Constitutional Court of all kinds of political corruption, bias, and partisanship, and also legal. I mean, not legal, but in terms of legal matters, criminal corruption. And most of the society, that part of the society that had been in touch in any way with the criminal justice system here in Poland, most of them were disappointed. And it's pretty much like everywhere in the world. Like, if you don't have enough money for a good lawyer, if you don't understand how the judicial procedures and the various litigations work, then you're always going to be lost in it. And there's been a growing resentment in the society against the judges in general, and also some of this partially this resentment is legitimate, because the judges were coming up with all kinds of statements where people were thrown out of their homes when they were not able to pay the rent, where people, when they ruled in favor of the bosses when there was an industrial dispute. And in general, there was this prevailing feeling piling up that the judiciary is against the ordinary people. And honestly speaking, I share that view to a large extent. But what did the Law and Justice do? They used that resentment in order to exploit it, to create hostility, and to create a witch hunt, which they will use for themselves, not in favor of the people, but to secure their position of power. And they hacked the Constitutional Court. Then they started producing, and installing their own prosecutors and their own loyal judges wherever they could. It still didn't happen everywhere. They are trying to hack the High Court, and this is pretty difficult. At the same time, the judges' response was very arrogant, because the judges are completely out of any control in Poland. I mean, I don't know how it is in Finland, but once you become a judge, you are always a judge, and no one can remove you from that position, no matter what you do. Like, you're just there. So, and they became very arrogant, and they became they had this very elitist approach towards the people and also towards the law and justice, which is portrayed by the opposition and by some of the people who are activists defending the courts and shouting for free courts and so on and so forth. They are being portrayed as, people of the lower class, and they are not able to understand the notion of the high court, or they are not able to grasp the idea behind a democratic judiciary and so on and so forth. So they blamed the resentment that the law and justice exploited on the alleged stupidity of the ordinary people. So, this is all a very toxic mixture, because on one side you have this Catholic fundamentalist, power-hungry apparatchiks, and on the other side you have this arrogant caste of wealthy people, and judges are wealthy people in Poland, who are untouchable and unremovable. And they kind of hate the fact, from the aristocratic position, they kind of have this aristocratic attitude, saying that they hate the fact that someone is actually trying to play with them. Okay, so of course they wanted to have the judiciary on their side and they wanted to hack the judiciary because they were afraid that the other part of the establishment, that is now the opposition, and they are just technically the opposition, although they don't really have much political differences in terms of their program, platform, or agenda with law and justice, but they were afraid that they're going to use the courts against them, against the law and justice, to the extent that they will block the march of the law and justice to power, and they will block their establishment in the elite. Okay, so it was their kind of idea fix. They just wanted to have that, and it's also part of the problem that we have here in Poland with the psychology of the leader of law and justice. And as I said, I call him the chairman of the state. So the chairman of the state, Jarosław Kaczyński, it's like in his mind, all the judges are against him. But that's not the case. In fact, and there have been many examples of that, the judges can easily adapt. Like whatever the power is there, they will adapt. Be it right-wing, left-wing, conservative, social democrat, whatever, they will adapt and they will work with the powers that be. But Jarosław Kaczyński has this kind of idea that no, everybody's against him, so he just wanted to destroy this, okay? And even now, when you look at Poland today, the state of affairs here, legally speaking, we live in a situation of complete lawlessness because of this COVID-19 thing around the world, globally. We are one of the few countries that never introduced any state of emergency, although there were all the presumptions for that. They were present, okay? So that's what the government was supposed to do. They never did that. Why? Because Jarosław Kaczyński knows that if they had introduced the state of emergency, they wouldn't have been able to have the presidential elections during the month of May. They never had them anyway, but that's a different story. But they wanted that, Jarosław Kaczyński wanted this election to happen, and because of his personal, individual stubbornness, the government, the most important institution of power in Poland, did not do what they should have done, what they must have done by any standard. That's what they were. That's what they had to do, but they never did that because Jarosław Kaczyński wanted to have his elections. Okay? He wanted to run his own little show. And now what happens is our civic liberties, because of the epidemic, were drastically limited. The police and the prosecution and many other institutions which are part of the repressive apparatus of the state have been given superpowers, and all that was injected into the legal system in form of massive voting of changes to already existing bills, okay? So, for example, during a 10-hour session of the parliament, which was extended to the middle of the night, 3 a.m. or something like that, hundreds and hundreds of bills were changed. And, I spoke to to some of the members of parliament from the left here, because the left in Poland is very small. They are my friends, so we're all a group of friends, really. So it's and they said they had a chance, statistically speaking, to discuss each and every amendment for 3 minutes during this one of these 10-hour sessions. So this is obviously a complete disregard towards pretty much all the institutions, pretty much the entire legal system, which they were part of developing. I mean, Law and Justice and Jarosław Kaczyński, they were in the opposition before 1989, and they demanded the changes that we have now. And yet, 30 years later, what are they doing? They are bypassing the system, they are devastating the system, they are exploding the institutions, they are creating parallel institutions which are going to work with them, just in order to to make sure that they have a place in the establishment, that no one can kick them out, because they were in power for a while in 2005, and they thought that if they are going to, play it relatively moderately, they will still be there. But 2 years later, they were out of the parliament, and this time they learned the lesson, and they knew that they really, really have to be very aggressive and offensive if they want to stay in power, even if that's how that's the context of the problem with the judiciary. Okay.
All right, I'll try to translate some of that.
I have a quick question before that, though.
All right. Sieltä tulee kysymys.
Yeah, I have a quick question now. This all sounds awful, to be honest. It sounds like a coup d'état, to be honest.
Yeah.
But how did they manage this? If did the other parties just support these amendments, or does the law and order, as you say, does it hold the leash on other parties as well? Do they have a majority, or
they have a majority? Like Law and Justice, they have a pretty big majority, like 42 or 43%, something like that, above 40% in the parliament. So it's still not a constitutional majority, but it's a majority, and they can rule just independently. Like they don't have to enter into any coalitions or anything like that. Now the question is, why does it happen, and why people allow that? If I understand it correctly, well,
yeah,
because that's because people. Why did people, in fact, that's in the first place, vote for Law and Justice in 2015? Because Law and Justice were the only party which decided to break with the consensuses developed in the beginning of the 90s between the old ruling class, from before 1989, and the new ruling elite emerging. And they had a couple of consensus. One of them was, that they will never allow any criticism of the transition, which is in fact the restoration of the capitalist order in Poland, which was and still is an extremely painful event in the modern history. People don't know that. People don't realize that, because people are told all the kind of candy stories about, democracy, freedom, civic liberties, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, that's true. I mean, we do have more civic liberties, theoretically speaking, at least, than we had before 1989. But at what cost? Let me just give you one number. Between 1991 and 1993, statistically speaking, on average, every day, 1,500 jobs were liquidated, eliminated. They evaporated. They were just, exploded every day, including Sundays. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea about the scope of the general economic, social, and afterwards, cultural and civilizational, if you like, disaster that occurred here throughout Eastern Europe, really, not only here. So, and yet, at the same time, the elite has made the deal that we will never allow any substantial criticism of the transition. So everybody, including the Social Democrats, the new Social Democrats, which used to be the ruling party before 1989, including them, they said everything is cool, everything is fine, it's a great success, it's a major development, the society is better now, everything is better, everybody is better, and so on and so forth. And they've been repeating this mantra, and because Law and Justice was, if they wanted to be elected, and if they wanted to make difference, and if they wanted to get attention, politically speaking, they had to come up with something different. So they decided to break with one of these consensuses, and they said, no, actually the transition was terrible. Many people have lost a lot during the transition, and of course they packed it in a very falsifying propagandist nonsense, saying that in fact communism never ended. It's still a kind of communism because in the judiciary and elsewhere there are many former communist apparatchiks, and the old communist elite is actually still controlling the processes in the country, and so on and so forth. So, but it was enough. It was enough to say this thing out loud and to say that many people have lost a lot during the transition in order to immediately gain the support of those that have been unheard for the last 30 years. So that's one thing. The second thing they did, because since they already, understood that they have to flirt somehow with the people, okay? They have to flirt with the people in order to get their attention and to get their support. So they said, look, okay, that was wrong. Like many things happened, many things were wrong over the last 3 decades, and we're going to repair that, okay? And second thing is, we're going to help the poor. And they introduced a very important measure, social measure, because they introduced child support, state-sponsored child support.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, okay, so which is like about 150 euros per child in 2015. And they said that this is the kind of compensation for those who have lost their economic well-being during the transition, and they also want to help the families. Okay, family, church, family, church. Okay, that's the mantra. So it's not only that consensus that they broke of the criticizing the transition, but they also broke another consensus, which is that the authorities had a deal to never really develop any social welfare system in Poland. That was a deal. That was a deal between made back during the period of the Round Table in Poland, end of 80s, beginning of 90s. That they will never do that. Yet they did that in order to secure, massive support for them, because they had no friends in the elite. They were only able to rely on the people. So in order to rely on the people, they had to give them something. So they did this, okay?
Right.
And these are, the two general, the two central elements of their rise to power in 2015.
Yeah, this is fascinating because it mirrors the rise of the Nazi Party, for example. That's like National Socialism 101. Give something. I may take a bit of an exaggeration, but they implement left-wing policies and then dress it up as nationalist and all that, while at the same time deriding the left. And
And of course, it also kind of reflects the rise of the reactionary right in every country, starting from the United States and to Finland and to Eastern Europe. Is the willingness to break with the consensus, with the status quo, business as usual. And but I think I'll have to translate some of this because it's been very interesting to hear.
Okay.
Eli siis niin kun tässä puhuttiin aikaisemmin siitä, että Puolassa tämä tuomioistuinten itsenäisyys ja oikeusjärjestelmän koskemattomuus on ollut semmoinen asia, mistä myös Suomessa on raportoitu mediassa. Mutta tässä tuli siihen aika mielenkiintoinen uusi näkemys sitä kautta, että siis siinä oikeusjärjestelmässä ihan aidosti oli aikaisemmin aika paljon pielessä asioita. Sitä niin kuin tuomarit olivat tämmöisiä rikkaista väestöstä tulevia ihmisiä ja oli yleinen laaja fiilis siitä, että nämä niin kuin tuomarit eivät nyt aja oikeasti kansan asiaa, että niiden linjaukset on vähän mitä sattuu. ja niin päin pois. Ja tätä kansan tyytymättömyyttä sitten pystyi hyväksi käyttämään tämä laki- ja oikeuspuolue, mikä jo siitä nimestäkin tulee selväksi. Mutta sitten kääntämällä sen niin päin, että näiden tuomareiden korruptio ja huonot päätökset ei johdukaan siitä, että he ovat rikasta porvaristoa, vaan siitä nimenomaan, että he ovat vanhoja kommunisteja, jotka ovat ikään kuin jääneet sinne järjestelmään pesimään ja että heidät pitää sitä kautta saada ulos. Mutta siinä oli oikeasti taustalla ihan oikea ongelma ja myöskin semmoinen ongelma, johon tämä liberaali, ehkä tämä tämmöinen oppositioeliitti ei sitten pystynyt vastaamaan, koska he näkivät vain, että kaikki kritiikki tätä oikeusjärjestelmää vastaan tästä niin kuin oikeistopopulistien taholta on tämmöistä niin kuin tyhmien ihmisten puhetta, että he eivät vaan ymmärrä, miten tämä järjestelmä toimii ja he eivät vaan niin kuin, ole tarpeeksi niin kuin sivistyneitä käsittämään tätä Puolan oikeusjärjestelmää. Ja tässä on ehkä jotain hyvin paljon samaa jälleen kerran tuonne Yhdysvaltojen ja myöskin Suomen suuntaan siinä, miten niin kuin tämä liberaali jengi suhtautuu yleisesti sitten tällaisiin protestiliikkeisiin, että nämä on vaan niin kuin tyhmät ihmiset ei tajuu, työläiset ja köyhät ei vaan tajuu tai jossain tuolla böndellä asuvat tyypit. No sitten tässä puhuttiin siitä, että miten tämä on ottanut niin kovan vallan tämä valtapuolue. Se on 2005 ollut Puolassa jo vallassa, mutta oli vain muutaman vuoden vallassa. Ja sen jälkeen tälle niin kuin pääjohtajalle on sitten tullut päähänpinttymä siitä, että nyt tällä kertaa kun me päästään valtaan, niin keinolla millä hyvänsä pysytään siellä. Ja sitä hän on toteuttanut. Ja tässä tuli myös tietoa siitä, että niin kuin Puolan tämä parlamentissa siis myöskin tietoa siitä, että minkäännäköistä tällaista koronavirus-poikkeustilaa ei ole julistettu Puolassa, vaan niin kuin sen on annettu mennä miten sattuu, mutta että sitten äänestyksiä järjestetty, jotkut äänestykset järjestetty tässä poikkeustilanteen aikana, ja sitten saatu läpi tämmöisiä niin kuin satoja lakimuutoksia, ihan todella pienessä ajassa niin, että yhden lakimuutoksen miettimiseen on parlamentissa ollut vain 3 minuuttia aikaa, ikään kuin tälleen kumileimaisemalla laitettu. Todella monia asioita muutettu ja annettu paljon valtaa tälleen niin kuin poliisille, kaiken maailman viranomaisille. Ja siinä, vaikka yleisesti puhutaan, että onko tässä nyt Puola vaipumassa fasismiin tai jotain, niin ehkä niillä ei ole niin perää suoraan, mutta että tämä on semmoinen fasismin ydin, tässä sanottiin, että mistä se voisi alkaa, missä se oikeasti voisi muuttua diktatuuriksi, koska niin kun, tämä on aika vakava juttu. Ja tosiaan sitten lopussa tämä just ajatus siitä, että tämä valtapuolue oli ainoa, joka uskalsi haastaa tämän konsensuksen kaikkien muiden puolueiden välillä. Siis sen jälkeen, kun sitten niin sanottu reaalisosialismi romahti 1929 Puolassa ja siirryttiin niin kuin, porvarilliseen demokratiaan, niin on ollut sellainen konsensus siitä, että miten nämä asiat hoidetaan. Että tämä siirtymä demokratiaan on yksiselitteisesti hyvä juttu ja hoidetaan tietyllä tavalla. On ollut tämmöinen pyöreä pöytä, joka niin kuin on ollut muun muassa konsensuksessa siitä, että sosiaaliturvaa ei nyt vaan paranneta. Että se on niin kuin tietyllä tapaa vaan nyt hoidetaan tämä homma tietyllä tämmöisellä uusliberaalilla tavalla. Ja yksi salaisuus siihen, että miksi tämä laki- ja oikeuspuolue on saanut niin paljon valtaa, on ollut myös siinä, että he ovat pystyneet niin kuin haastamaan tämän konsensuksen ja toteuttaneet esimerkiksi lapsilisäuudistuksen, joka on ollut erittäin selvästi tarpeellinen juttu ja tämmöinen, mikä auttaa sitten köyhää väestöä tuolla maassa. Mutta se edellytti sitä, että siirrytään pois tästä transitiosta, tästä niin kuin, siirtymäkauden konsensuksesta. Mutta se on kuitenkin sitten tässä tapauksessa jälleen verhoiltu siihen, että tässä vielä enemmän toteutetaan tätä siirtyä pois tästä sosialismista, että jotenkin tämäkin niin kuin kaikki tämä on sitten niin kuin verhoiltu taantumukselliseen retoriikkaan perheestä, koska perhe katolilaisessa yhteiskunnassa on niin tärkeässä asemassa ja tämmöisessä kulttuurissa, niin että on tehty perheiden auttamiseksi, ei suinkaan köyhien, että tällä ei ole mitään tekemistä sosialismin kanssa, mutta että niin kuin, tämä on tämmöistä sosialismin purkamista itse asiassa tämäkin sosiaaliturvan edistäminen. Mutta tämä oli hyvin mielenkiintoinen paljastus. Ainakin itselleni selkeytyy hyvin paljon se, että niin kuin, mihin tämä perustuu tämä kannatus. Yes, so I think that was quite an enlightening revelation on what the support of this ruling party depends on the willingness to break from the consensus and do actual things that also help the people, even though they are coded in very, very reactionary and very right-wing rhetoric and so on. But like here in Finland, of course, the media has approached this with the view that there are these bad guys, and we've established, I think, quite clearly that they are bad guys, these right-wing rulers right now, and they are conservatives. But then there's the good guys. There's the liberals. There's the liberal opposition who are pro-EU, and these bad guys are anti-EU. And it's like it's just a moment of like let's give it a while, and these good liberals will win and return the nice liberal democracy to us. So what do you think of the opposition and this sort of rhetoric that we hear in Finland?
Well, I always get amused with the fact how easily the lines are drawn in terms of like who is against and who is in favor of the European Union, like as if the European Union really matters so much. I mean, I'm afraid, that many people just attach too much of a meaning to that. Like at the moment, I don't think many people, except for a handful, really cares about the European Union per se. So first of all, I want to say this. Law and Justice, they have never been against the European Union, and portraying them as people who are against the concept of Poland being part of the European Union is absolutely false. Their opposition, and that's another very falsified element in the general picture that the mainstream media are drawing about Poland, the opposition are not liberals. I mean, had they at least been liberals, they are not. They are just regular conservatives. The only difference between them and Law and Justice is that Law and Justice, they had to stress more on the Catholic element in their platform and in their political communication, because they wanted to be with the church, because they know that the church is a very serious player in Poland in terms of politics, culture, and finances, if you like. So they wanted to be close to that. And they also, they understood this very simple thing that, in Poland, people are pretty religious. So, this is a perfect opportunity for them to get even closer to, the regular people. And the opposition, they are not liberal. They are very conservative. I will say more. They are kind of nationalistic conservatives by any Western European standard. They are quite liberal only when it comes to the economy. So it's something like, an American libertarian, I would say, something like, people who would say, I like civic liberties, but I have a conservative fiscal policy or fiscal ideas, which pretty much means I like to smoke weed, but fuck the poor. That's their program, really. And
that's what it always means.
Yeah. So of course now, because these people in power currently are so outrageously fundamentalist and right wing, they have to portray themselves like they are different. So because Kaczynski unleashed this hate against the European Union, saying that they come for your children and LGBT and sexual education and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So they had to take it, although they don't like it. They don't like gay people. They don't like women. They don't like anything progressive and liberating and emancipating. Okay, but they had to embrace that in order to show that they are different. And of course, the European Union is a very easy thing to use, because you can use European Union and this notion that everybody should fall on their knees in front of, because European Union is such a great thing somehow, okay? And you can use these cliches like European values, for example. I don't know what it even means. You know, European
No one
values.
does, I think.
Yeah. Do you eat it for lunch or for dinner? You know, right? So of course they present themselves, and they are trying to present themselves, and the media throughout the world, really, the liberal media, the liberal corporate media, they help them. Okay, and of course, this party, the opposition, the one led by Donald Tusk, they have a lot of friends in the establishment in the world, and particularly in Europe. Like, look what happened right after, in 2015, right after the Law and Justice took power, and they were seriously thinking about prosecuting Donald Tusk. What happened is that Angela Merkel immediately took him away to Brussels for him to become the president of the European Council. Okay, so now he has these great prerogatives. He can open the meetings and close the meetings, and that's all he can do. But he's there, and obviously this part of the establishment will be protected by the West, by the Western media, by the liberal class in the West, in Western Europe. So because they are their friends, and they have been collaborating with them for such a long period of time. And for them, Donald Tusk and the current opposition, they were predictable because they just allowed the West to loot Poland, okay, economically and in all kinds of other ways. So Jarosław Kaczyński is very unpredictable, as we can see that, and also he has been seen by Germany, by Berlin in particular, and also France to a certain extent, as the person who is rather with the Americans than with the Europeans, and quite rightly, of course. That's because that's pretty much that's what the facts are. But the opposition, they have no real substantial differences when it comes, politically speaking, when you compare their platforms. I mean that's the opposition who paved the way, really, for Kaczynski, with their nationalistic policies and interpretation of history, with their obsessive anti-communism, and with them demonizing the left, okay? Because really, I have been on the Polish left since 1989, and I remember very well how multiple times our activists, our journalists were trying to warn, we were not shouting, we were crying, saying, look where this is going. Sooner or later, something really, really terrible is going to happen around here. And every time we said the word fascism, we were laughed at. We were sent, away, like, go, I don't know, go to your room and play with your toys. Because this was so somehow, this was so unacceptable for the establishment, including the media and the politicians and the opinion makers and the influencers in the public opinion and so on. So to say that the current reality can have anything in common with fascism, okay? And now when this thing happened, the one that we were warning them, would we have been warning everybody against, they're saying, oh no, this is such a terrible situation. What happened here? This is an inexplicable incident on the great march of Poland towards success and prosperity. And we have been saying that for a long period of time. This is no march towards any kind of success. This is a march towards a national disaster, and this is what's happening right now. And here I want to refer to what pardon, I forgot your name. I know it starts with J. What you said previously. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. The question of comparing the current system, the current changes in the system to the rise of power of the Nazis in Germany. I think it's not there yet, because Jarosław Kaczyński is not going to carry out a classical counter-revolution, mobilizing the middle class, okay, in order to start aggressively approaching. Aggressively going out in the streets and setting on fire union stations and so on and so forth. They're not going to do that. But Who can do that? The people whom they invited into the mainstream politics, which is the extremist right, and they are saying that. They don't say the word fascism, but they openly say that if they take power, the church will preside over the civic authorities, and that the matter of morality and nation and and church and family and all the rest of it is going to be the central element to which all other things in the political process are going to be subordinated, which pretty much means fascism. Okay. Yeah. So I don't think they are going to do that. What they are trying to do is they are trying to get to power and make sure they stay there, even if they don't currently rule, but that they are at least part of the establishment. But they don't intend to carry out a fascist counter-revolution. But the other people whom they flirted with and invited to the political process, and that they are now part of, they can do that pretty easily. And they can use, the marches of independence. They can use, football hooligans. They can use all kinds of gangsters, okay, and collective gangsterism. So I think that the opposition, if there had been any opposition, really, a real opposition that would challenge law and justice, then obviously we wouldn't be in such a dark place where we are now. But what does it mean to actually challenge the Jaroslaw Kaczynski and law and justice? That means to say 500 zlotys, which is the 150 euros per child I told you about earlier, is not enough. We need more. Plus, we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to raise the pensions. We need to secure we need to secure jobs. We need to secure all kinds of things in order to get out of this misery that we were thrown into for the last 3 decades. And that means expanding the social programs. That means initiative of the state, of the municipalities. That means improving the education. That means improving the healthcare system. And the healthcare system. What happened to the healthcare system over the last 3 decades? Not 3 decades. 10 years. 1 decade. That was the most recent report I read. They destroyed 25,000 hospital beds. Okay, and now we're in a pandemic, and we badly need these 25,000. But no, they were not needed. They were gone. The market verified it. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that the opposition now, which is not liberal, it's right-wing conservative, pretty close to what law and justice is. The only thing they have to offer is let's go back to the Third Republic, as they call it, which is the name that they developed for Poland after 1989. Which, in other words, translated means let's go back to the status quo. Everything was fine. And they are shouting that at the top of their lungs, and no one understands that. I mean, people do understand that, but they are not prepared to vote for it because they voted for law and justice in 2015 because they demanded a change. And this party and this person, Jaroslaw Kaczynski, promised them change, and there is a change. Okay, it's an awful one. Nonetheless, it's still a change, and that works on people because first of all, they were given some money. Second, there's a change, a major change promise, and something is happening. And everybody is against each other, which means that this is like a very kind of obviously a very confrontational thing going on. Plus the propaganda and the emotional exploitation of society that secures the support for law and justice. But most of all, the biggest element in this construction of security is the weakness of the opposition, including the left opposition, unfortunately.
Right. So the classic picture where the failure of the radical left basically feeds into the radical right. They can promise the things that the leftists couldn't.
Yeah, what was the problem exactly? Why didn't the left come up with the postulate of supporting children in families with 500 zlotys, aka 150 euros per month? Okay, until they turn 18 or 20 or something like that. What was the problem? Why couldn't it have been done, say, 10 years ago? And
earlier you said
10 years
that
ago, when the
it was
Polish
part of
left was in the parliament and was the major number one force in the parliament, then they had their own government. Why weren't they able to do that? Well, because they didn't want to, because they succumbed to that culture of the transition where the consensus was that no social security, no social support, nothing which is social and friendly to the people will be on the official agenda. Okay, so now these are the results.
Right, so the left was like part of the, as earlier you said, part of this consensus and part of the round table, which of course in many ways reflects the situation in many countries and is a kind of a mirror of Finland, where the left has participated in these rainbow coalitions, which include the right and the left. And there is obviously no like post-socialist roundtable, but they have been parts of very big round tables and doing these kinds of things. And now we're seeing the rise of a populist right here as well. But I'll try to translate some of that. Eli tämä puhe siis Suomessa tästä Puolan oppositiosta jotenkin niin hyvinkin erilaisena tähän hallitsevaan puolueeseen ei niinkään ole reaalinen siinä mielessä, että myöskin tämä aikaisemmat oppositiopuolueet ovat kyllä olleet hyvinkin oikeistolaisia, hyvinkin talouspolitiikaltaan tämmöisiä keskustasta sinne oikealle puolelle ja muutenkin toiminnaltaan myöskin sitten taas tämä hallitsevan puolueen EU-myönteisyys kautta vastaisuus on sekin hyvin semmoinen häilyvä juttu, että välillä he on puheessa EU-vastaisia niin kuin propagandamielessä, mutta käytännössä sitten kuitenkaan eivät välttämättä niinkään. Ja sitten niin kuin ovat toimineet myös yhteistyössä erinäköisissä jutuissa tässä, mutta että ehkä tämä oikeisto-oppositio, jos puhutaan nyt sitten, että on oikeisto hallitseva puolue ja oikeisto-oppositio, niin ehkä tämä oikeisto-oppositio on vähän niin kuin yllättynyt siitä, että millä voimalla vain tämä niin kuin on päässyt valtaan tämä nyt sitten tämä hallitseva oikeistopuolue. Ja ehkä tässä on tämmöinen 3-portainen malli tai 4-portainen malli, en tiedä siis silleen, että tämä hallitseva puolue pitää ovea auki äärioikeistolle, äärioikeisto pääsee valtaan, mutta sitten omalla toiminnallaan sitten tämä oppositio on myöskin pitänyt ovea auki sitten tälle nyt hallitsevalle puolueelle ja sitten toisaalta lyönyt sieltä vasemmalta kaikki, jotka niin kuin on vasemmistosta niin kuin yrittäneet varoittaa, että hetkonen, että ehkä tämä konsensus ei ole hyvä asia, ehkä me tarvittaisiin jotain toisenlaista, niin kuin, että ehkä tämä homma menee ihan täydeksi fasismiksi tästä kohta, niin ne on lyöty viimeisen 20 vuoden aikana jatkuvasti maahan ja sanottu, että te olette jotain ihan hulluja hiihtäjiä, te ette tiedä, te olette jotain vanhoja stalinisteja, joita ei kannata kuunnella ja menkääs nyt siitä leikkikehänne takaisin leikkimään ja tämän tyyppinen vähättelevä asenne tämmöisille äänille ja kritiikille ollut vallalla tässä yhteiskunnassa. Ja tuossa oli joitakin lukuja myös vielä, mitä mä yritin kirjoittaa ylös. Siis tämän transition alkaessa 1991-1993 tässä esitettiin semmoinen, että 1500 työpaikkaa tuhoutui päivässä niin kuin Puolasta, mikä kuulostaa todella pahalta tilanteelta. Eli siis niin kuin työttömyyden raju nousu silloin. Ja myöskin tuossa esitettiin, että sitten opposition valtakaudella 25 000 sairaalasänkyä poistettu terveydenhuollosta. Eli tässä terveydenhuollossakin on niin kuin tosi paljon parannettavaa sitten, mutta että nyt kun tultiin tämmöiseen virustilanteeseen, niin kiitos siitä. Ja sekin kuulostaa tietyllä tavalla hyvin tutulta Suomessa. Puhutaan kaiken maailman sote-uudistukset tulevat kovasti mieleen tässä ynnä muuta. Ja ehkä se tapa haastaa sitten tätä vallitsevaa uutta asioiden tilaa olisi juuri se, että niin kun haastetaan tätä tilannetta sillä tavalla, että tarjotaan vähän enemmän kuin se 500 € lapsilisä, minkä tämä oikeistopuolue on tarjonnut. Lähdetään just parantamaan kaikkia peruspalveluita, lähdetään niin oikeasti tarjoamaan sellaisia asioita, jotka puuttuu, kuten terveydenhuolto ja näitä. Ja kysymys kuuluu tässä, Bojan esitti, että miksi näin ei ole aikaisemmin tehty? Mikä pidätteli niin kuin vasemmistoa Puolassa niin kuin esittämästä omaa vaihtoehtoa? Ja se juurikin oli tässä näin, niin kuin vahvistettiin, niin tämä ihmeellinen transitiokonsensus, että kyllä se kaikki hyvä tulee sieltä markkinamekanismien ja Euroopan unionin ja liberalismin kautta, kunhan vaan odotellaan. Ja nyt kun sitä ei tulekaan, niin nyt ollaankin sitten hätää kärsimässä, niin sanotusti. All right. I think we've got a pretty good picture of what is going on, what are the challenges, and
It's definitely a picture, but it's not good.
It is definitely not good, but I think the only word of encouragement we can offer is that you're not alone. This is happening in every other country as well, so more or less, which is also not a good thing to end on. So I don't know. We should be trying to find some good note to end on here. What is the way out of this mess is also always the question that we're trying to ask. And I don't know if our panel here has some answers to that.
There's no easy way out of it, of course, obviously, but the only way that I can see is an aggressive left-wing force that is going to fight its way into the political discourse. Let me use this modern word. So I think that once the left starts understanding that all the issues, I don't know how to put them, the kind of issues that not regard the very material basis of the functioning of the society, before all these questions, the economy comes first. Okay, so first is the kind of the very essence of politics, which is like creating an aggressive platform for major systemic changes, promising that change and explaining what is it going to be like. Which is something very difficult because long time ago, the left, I think I can say internationally, not only here in Poland, has left the kind of has abandoned their goals. Like they stopped even believing that something like socialism is actually possible or desirable, and they started accommodating themselves to the current system. Okay, so that has to change, obviously, and if that doesn't happen, I just don't quite see any way out. Now, the optimistic element here is that this system, this architecture, this particular architecture of the system that was installed in Poland and in Eastern Europe 30 years ago, I think we're seeing the end of that, because it obviously went far beyond its capacity, its initial capacity, and it's being pretty much out of control already. So I think it's a perfect moment for an emergence of a strong left-wing force that would start pretty rapidly gaining popularity and becoming, if not the major force, then at least an important point of reference in the political life. But of course, if it doesn't happen, I cannot promise that what's coming after this order implodes, and it is imploding, is going to be any better. So I in that sense, I'm a classical Marxist. I mean, I just don't see any other way out than confronting these trends in an anti-systemic manner, because that's one of the important mantras of the right, especially the extremist right in Poland, that they are against this rotten system. Well, we should also be against this rotten system, only for real, not like faking it for their own purposes. I don't think that if we start having a left-wing, a courageous left-wing force that will have the courage to actually express this anti-capitalist notions and political program, I don't think that they will they will be in trouble debating anyone from the mainstream, because the mainstream in Poland are currently basically three factors. One factor is the government, the currently governing party and the currently governing structure and grouping, who are, okay, they're not fascists, but they are neo-traditionalists, I call them, which is, people who see that things are not good and things are difficult for everybody because of the uncertainty, because of the economic collapse, because of the collapse of neoliberalism, really, because neoliberalism has collapsed in all aspects you can think about, morally, politically, economically, in all ways, okay? So what they want to do is they want to refer to church, family, God, tradition, whatever, and they just want to kick everything back into the box, okay? Because things have, fallen out of the box. And then there's the other group, which is the official opposition, which is saying, let's get together and put things back into the box and everything is going to be fine. Let's just do it, let's just put them back. And then there's the third element, which is the extremist right wing invited to the political scene by Law and Justice, who say, we want to get rid of those toys because those toys are terrible. We want to have the box, but we want to put our toys in it, and we want to tie it well so that it doesn't fall apart again. And the left can say, like, this box and these toys, all these things are just terrible. They brought about the plight that we are in right now in all aspects, again, cultural, political, economic, whatever, right? So we have a different idea, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, okay? So I think there are major opportunities ahead of us, and it only depends on us, the activists, the journalists, the people on the left, whether we're going to actually be able to use that opportunity.
Alright, eli siinä tarjoiltiin jonkinnäköistä visiota tulevaisuudelle. Siinä peräänkuulutettiin vasemmistolta sitä, että nyt on se täydellinen mahdollisuus. Uusliberalismi on romahtanut, on romahdustilassa, epäonnistunut, ainakin siinä niin kuin tuottamaan niitä asioita, mitä se on luvannut meille. Nyt meidän pitäisi oikeasti olla rohkeasti vaatia sitä järjestelmän muutosta, nostaa esiin antikapitalismia ja sosialismia visiona sillä, että mitä voisi olla tämän tilanteen jälkeen. Eli tuossa niin kuin kuvailtiin sitä, että on nämä äärikonservatiivit, jotka on sitä mieltä, että niin kuin kaikki tämä sekavuus, mitä tämä uusliberalismi on aiheuttanut, niin se pitäisi laittaa boksiin, se pitäisi laittaa niin kuin kaikki nämä uusliberalismin lelut tiukasti sitoon boksiin, ja niin kuin, että ne ei pääse sieltä niin kuin karkaamaan sitten taas tämmöisen niin kuin vanhan ja hyvän kurin ja järjestyksen alla. Ja sitten on nämä uusliberalistit, jotka edelleen on sitä mieltä, että joo, ei tämä on ihan hyvä boksi, että laitetaan vähän lisää leluja vaan sinne sekaan, niin eiköhän se siitä parane. Mutta että niin kuin vasemmiston niin kuin näkemys pitäisi olla se, että koko tämä boksi pitäisi heittää helvettiin, että siellä on ihan sellaisia leluja, jotka niin kuin meille on ihan selvästi tehneet haittaa, ja se on ehkä tässä tullut nyt selväksi, että mitä haittaa niistä on ollut. Ja tietenkin on vielä tuntematonta, että mitä haittaa niistä tulee vielä niin kuin meille aiheutumaan, erityisesti jo tämän koronakriisin aikana, varsinkin Puolassa, jossa niin kuin mitään suunnitelmaa tai varautumista ei edes näytä olevan tähän tilanteeseen. Eli siellä voi olla vielä odotettavissa erittäinkin synkät näkymät. Mutta mahdollisuuksia on. Tässä on paras tilanne lähteä tekemään toisen näköistä vasemmistolaista liikettä. Ja olisiko sieltä Juholta kommentteja, näkemyksiä?
Yeah, I agree with your last statement that the perfect moment for a new rising of the left is at hand. In some ways, I mean, I hate this proverb, but it does get darker. It is the darkest before the dawn, so it is like the darkest before we see light at the end of the tunnel. But I think if we mirror it to the, say, Finnish right-wing populists, and they recently had a split where their quote-unquote moderate elements were expelled from the party, and now they are basically a proto-fascist party. And I think the same thing is with law and justice that they are hard to oppose on their own in the terms of neoliberalism. They can just like, oh, we are not doing anything wrong, etc., etc. But when they invite these extremists into politics, and furthermore, if the party ever splits, and there's I don't know about Poland, but the tendency is that there are moderate right-wing parties that tend to split into more extreme ones, and then the extreme ones take control. So basically what happens is the masks come off. So they can no longer say we are for civilized society and all that, etc., etc. So now their cards are on the table, and we can more credibly oppose them. Of course, this is quite dim in the sense that real injustices need to happen before action springs up from that. But I think you're right that we just need more leftist pressure. Honest to God, socialism just say that it's not enough, those child subsidiaries and all that. So yeah, at the same time the situation seems grim and it's horrible, but I'm also hopeful that we can rise to the occasion. And I'm thankful that there are people like you who have done this for decades now.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I just hope we can be more effective in the future.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think one part of this is that it's not limited to just singular countries. The right-wing movements, they actively work together, like we've seen, like Finnish far-right politicians give their support to the far-right in Poland. So we should be on the left also trying to build international networks, exchange information, and build our movements.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like I hope this broadcast has been a very small part in that, and that people watching this now have a better idea of the challenges in Poland. And I thank you for participating in this and giving your views. It's been
a pleasure.
informative.
Thank you.
All right, so I hope to hear from you again at some point, and I think we are done for this show at this point. It's been almost an hour and a half, so I think that's a good place to stop. So thank you also to all of our viewers, eli kiitos kaikille katsojille ja tilaajille. Muistakaa painaa tilausnappuloita ja jaa-nappuloita ja muita hienoja uusliberalistisen ajan työkaluja, joilla voimme käydä tätä hallitsevaa järjestelmää vastaan, ja toivon mukaan kehitämme uusia tapoja toimia sitä vastaan, ja tiedämme sitten myös lisää näistä asioista tulevaisuudessa. Mutta me päätämme täältä lähetyksen tähän, ja palaamme asiaan tällä samalla kanavalla sitten jostain aivan muusta aiheesta. Mutta yksi asia on varma, me olemme täällä työväen puolella, työväenluokan asialla, ja siitä perspektiivistä tulemme jatkamaan tätä. Nyt hyvää iltaa kaikille minun puolestani. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, so we're off the camera.